Okay, I'd like to commence with the Common Council meeting for Tuesday, July 16th. Has appropriate notice been given?
Yes, Your Honor, it has.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Here.
Alderman Zwart. Alderman Stray.
Here.
Alderman Kavieski.
Here.
Alderman Rogers. Here. Alderman Rozak.
Here.
Alderman Shaw.
Here.
Alderman Ellis.
Here.
First item is approval of the meeting minutes from June 18th, 2019. We need a motion to approve.
So
the
moved.
minutes.
Second.
Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes passed. Tonight, under comments and suggestions from citizens, we do have some very special guests with us tonight. Our sister city relationship with Dietzenbach, Germany, we have a large delegation of 19 people that have traveled from Europe to come over here and visit us and have done some sightseeing and some activities with the schools. Derek was kind enough to give their Burgermeister or mayor a Harley tour, which was great. He got to go on it too. I know Lou has been involved. He's been doing some driving. Tom Stray gave him a little tour of the American Legion. And it's been a great event for them to be here and enjoy it. So I'm going to introduce the first person, which is the head of the Dietzenbach City Council, Crystal Germer. She's going to come up, and then she's going to she's going to introduce their Burgermeister or mayor, and we'll go from there. Crystal?
So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Crystal Germer. I'm the head of the Dietzenbach Parliament, actually. First, I want to thank you to be invited here with the whole group. And second, I want to apologize that my English not that perfect that I would like to be. But all I wanted to do tonight is to present you the people that came over here, because we have now our 10 years of relationship, sister city, Dietzenbach-Oconomowoc. So we start with the history. So we have our former mayor here. This is Stephen Gisela, who was, when we got the question from Oconomowoc to our county, that they wanted to have a sister city community in the county of Offenbach. So he said, well, why not? And at that time, we had Maury Sullivan as a mayor here. We had Stephen, we had Cornelia, my predecessor. Cornelia was 12 years the head of the Dietzenbach Parliament. And these people signed on December 9th, 2008, the contract between Oconomowoc and Dietzenbach. And now he is managing director. Stephen is a managing director in an association for the Hessen cities in the state of Hesse, in an association to represent them. Cornelia decided to be there for her grandchildren, and she was still working hard, full-time working, and so she said after 12 years, somebody else should take that job. But she always supported from the very beginning this sister city with all her heart. The next we had to contact, because we have been very much interested in, was our school head. Our school head, Hans-Peter Löw. He's here with his partner, Gabi. And Hans-Peter Löw was very much interested in the association of the high school and our high school in Dietzenbach. We have many projects, but I think it would be too long to explain everything. Then, so we have his partner Gabi on his side. She was working in the library. She did a lot of work in the school, and now is working in the school administration. So next to Cornelia, I have her husband Helmut. Helmut is an alderman in the Dietzenbach Parliament. He's working with our mayor, and was also here a couple of times and is very much supporting our partnership. Then I have what was important next. It is Heidi. We have a sister city committee, which we don't have here, but the first time when we came over and went to the county chief, it was our county chief at that time was Peter Walter, and over here it was Dan Brakash. So we have been there, and it was a lady with us, Barbara Möbius from the Sister City Committee over here. Our Sister City Committee is now represented by Heidi. Heidi is the cashier there, and we want to bring you our greetings from Yvonne. You know, Yvonne has been here for the opening of the first Christmas market, and but she couldn't come, and so all the best for you from our Sister City Committee. Then I did nearly forgot the new wife of Stephen Gisela. We have Caro Gisela, a young woman working in the state of Hessen in the economic ministry. We have our artist, Uschi Häusl. We are very, very proud. The ones they have been in Dietzenbach may have seen the red in all kinds of paintings, and maybe if you are interested, she could show you some of her pictures. We also sent over calendars. She is having cartoons in the newspaper every week, and she's really, we are very proud to have her. And her husband, naturally, always important after a strong woman is a strong man. Then we have Doris and Orland Tomlinson. This is Doris and Orland. Doris is helping me at the Dietzenbach table, because I'm also the head of the table in Dietzenbach, which we have since more than 13 years. And that means we are giving food for poor people. We are collecting it, and for the reason that is not thrown away, we are giving it to people that can't afford it. And her husband, he had to work and bring the money by. So Doris was always helping in school and wherever. Then I have Carla, a good friend, citizen of Dietzenbach, a good friend of Heidi. Then I have Anja, Heidi's daughter. She came along. Then I have Armin Ennelet, citizen of Dietzenbach, who was very nosy and wanted to see what O'Connor Walk is like. Then we have Tim Cart working for the press department in Dietzenbach administration, and a young man who never was in the United States, as I understood, and he's overwhelmed what he can see here. And naturally, he has to work, he has to report back. So then my husband, he's always supporting me, always naturally, hopefully another long time. And then I give over to very important person now, the new Bürgermeister since a couple of years. The new Bürgermeister since 10 years, because we have another one here. So with his wife, Sandra. And he will inform you now about the intention of our sister city commitment. If you are.
Thanks, Crystal. Dear Alderman, David, it's an honor for us to be at a council meeting today with you. And I would like to start with something you didn't sign and I didn't sign. But we will see that it still worked out. There was a contract we signed, and it said, the contract the Common Council of the City of Economowalk and Parliament of Dietzenbach signed said mainly deepening of our friendship, establishing closer ties between our people, furthering our mutual intents of education. These are the main, the key messages of our contract we signed the end of 2008. And by the way, there's nothing about the German Christmas market in that contract. And I believe that for some people, the German Christmas market in the meantime is even more connected to the sistership than it was ever planned before. And now there was a delegation over there, and they checked out the Christmas market. And I remember that the hats, actually the plans for the hats had been sent over here, and you rebuilt the hats that we had on the Christmas market. So this was the beginning. And I was very happy to get invited on 2012. There have been a couple of pictures there when I opened the first Christmas market in Economowalk. It was, for me, quite interesting because it was the first Christmas market I opened with a mug of beer, Hofbräu. And it was Hans and his brother, Jack Weisgerber, being with us on the stage. It was overwhelming as well, even so it was quite different for me with a mug of beer to open a Christmas market. I heard today that it is a real success story to your city. The Christmas market grew and grew, and I hope we can come back the next years and see what you actually made out of the Christmas market. But to come back, the first thing was to deepening our friendship. And I think the delegations we had, and there's right now the picture of all the delegations you can see. I hope you have this on your monitor probably. You can see that more and more people get infected by the virus of Sister City Partnership. And this is what I personally find great. And you can see today, 19 people from Dietzenbach come over here to celebrate the 10th anniversary of our Sister City Partnership together with you and our friends that are getting also every time, every delegation getting bigger and bigger. And this brings me to the point, I signed many contracts in my life, you probably as well, but at the end of the day, it's the people that make it. And this is also why I think it's very important that we keep on developing our partnership, regardless who is your president, who is our chancellor. It is important that the people meet. And this brings me to the next point, the next core message, which is education. And this is why I'm very happy that Hans-Peter is with us. as the director of our Heinrich Mann School in Dietzenbach. And we just today visited the Economowalk High School again and saw how good progress this school is making. And I'm very happy every year to see students coming over, visiting the town hall, visiting myself, and we talk to each other and say, well, what was interesting in Germany, what was interesting in Dietzenbach in the Rhine-Main area. And the same is when we send students over here, they visit different places. And so we have the young people, our future, if you like, but it's the young people that have to see that you can work, that you can learn together, that you can celebrate together, regardless of the big politics. Yeah, I hope you understand what I mean. Yeah, so the end of the day, I think this is a very important project. I personally will support this as long as I can, that we exchange the students. The student program should be even getting bigger, if possible. And I will support the ongoing partnership, exchanging people coming over to us, and we coming over to here and talk and celebrate and party with our friends here in Economowalk. It's the people that make it, not the contracts.
Thank you, Jürgen. I think since you did introductions, I think we need to introduce everybody that's up here and then our department heads. So Sarah, I'll let you start and you can introduce the department heads or have them stand up and introduce themselves.
Okay,
And then we'll go with the aldermen.
okay, all right. I will introduce our department heads. I'm going to start on this side of the room. Mark Fry is our Director of Public Works. Bob Duffy, of course, our Director of Economic Development. Betsy Black is our Library Director. I'm trying to see, I've got Scott Osborne is with our Water Utility. Chief Ron Berger with our Police Department. I can't see if there's anybody else.
Kevin's back there.
Oh, Kevin Freeber with our wastewater utility. And then moving to this side of the room, we've got Joe Pickert is our utility director for electric and water. And Jason Gallo is our city planner. And Craig, I'm going to introduce you as well. Craig is on our agenda tonight for confirmation as our new Parks and Recreation and Forestry Director. Did I miss anyone?
Who's next to you?
Oh, I got Stan, yes, thank you. Stan Riffle is our city attorney,
Guten Abend.
and Diane Cohen is our city clerk.
Hello, welcome.
And those are the people that basically run this day-to-day operations of our city. And they do a very good job. Now, starting on the end down there, Lou, you can introduce yourself and then just let everybody know. I know they already know you, but
Lou Gavieski. Nice to meet you. Again. Me? You.
yeah.
Stand up.
Derek Zwart.
Karen Spiegelberg, welcome.
Kevin Ellis, welcome.
Charlie Shaw, welcome. Matt Rosick, welcome.
Andy Rogers, welcome.
And these are our 8 aldermen, each of them represent, there's 2 for each district, there's 4 districts in the city. There's an election every year, and it's either one or the other is up for election. So those are the people that make the decisions of what we're doing in the city. Do a very good job. So you've had a busy week. You have one more day tomorrow. I think you're going to the county tomorrow, and you're going to go to the county fair. We are going to have a celebration at the American Legion concert tomorrow night, where we'll have a little introduction and go from there. So I'm glad you had a chance to see a meeting of ours. I know the last time you were here, you didn't get a chance to see a meeting. You were in the wrong week. But it's been an honor to have you guys here, and it's been a pleasure to host you. And besides, I do also want to thank, there's certain people in the crowd that have helped. from our volunteers. Our former city administrator in the back row, Diane Gard, has been a big help. Kathy Kempf and her husband, who's not here, but Kathy's been a big help. Bob's wife Beth has always been a help. I see Terry Gard back there. And none of this could have happened without Bob Duffy. He's done a fantastic job.
Maureen Stapleton? Maureen?
Is Maureen here?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even see you there.
She's always late, usual.
Lynn, and we did have, Hans Weisgerber hosted us for dinner on Friday night, and there were some other people. Lindsey Jones did some things with the Carl Schurz Park, and Craig Schuffelbein had everybody for dinner, and the Northcott Winery hosted people, so there was a lot of people that were involved in this. Another person, special person in the community, Floss Whalen, who's with her husband Dick here, and always has been a big contributor to everything that we've done in the city, so. Do any of the aldermen have any questions for the German delegation? Anything that you'd like to ask them? Go ahead, Kevin.
I don't want to ask anything, but I want to tell you, your English is fantastic.
Anybody have a question? Lou, go ahead.
I just want to say, I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to come over here to experience our city. It was a pleasure to get to know you a little bit on Sunday, and I look forward to continuing that tomorrow. And you hit it right on the head. It is not as much about the contracts or the legal process in place.
Wait a minute.
It's about the people and the connections that you make, and I'm glad to see it continue to strengthen over the years. And I look forward to seeing what it produces in the future. So, welcome.
Good. Bob, do you want to get a picture? Want to get a picture?
You want to say
No?
something?
I guess not.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Come up
okay.
by the podium, and maybe Tim wants to get one too.
Say something real quick.
Homer, you want to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to, really, I enjoyed your company this afternoon. It was wonderful. I'm glad that you, I was calling the boats the Titanic, and we had Gilligan back there. He was one of the captains of the ship. But we really appreciate you coming, and, I've been over at the Deutschland a few times, and, I really enjoyed myself. And thanks again for coming, because now we have an early council meeting that we're going to be done instead of midnight. We'll be done early because of the agenda has almost got nothing.
I'll take that bet.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep. In the middle, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, you're good. Yep. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you. We will.
I think we'd all like to give you an official welcome.
Thank you so much.
Now, you're welcome to stay to see us how we work, so.
It's impressive.
What we do here now is we have comments from citizens. Any subject you want to talk about? Bob Morgan.
Good evening. Before I begin, I'd like to say to folks, I spent 4 years in a little town called Friedberg, which is about 30 k's north of, with 3rd Armored, 30 k's north of Frankfurt, or they call it clicks over there, not k's, and welcome. Recently, we had a bad windstorm. A lot of trees came down. First of all, I want to congratulate the city, Forest Department, city for cleaning up in a very short time. But where I feel there is a fault is a lot of dead trees, oversized trees are allowed to stay there and not, the owner is not forced to cut them down. Now, I don't know if the city can make an ordinance that can force the people to cut these dead trees down so they don't go down the most inopportune time during this windstorm or not. But I would think the city should be able to have some sort of leverage, and I'm sure insurance companies would go for it too, because there's a lot of house damage and stuff with these dead trees. I don't know if it's possible or not to make an ordinance, but I think it's something the city should look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Jill Persick?
Yes, thank you. And just as a resident of Oconomowoc, I look forward to the German Christmas market every year. Thank you. I spend too much money there. But it's wonderful to be able to thank you personally. And I am Jill Persick, a Oconomowoc City resident, and I'm really here to put forth a specific request of Mayor Nold and Ms. Kinsimple, and then give a brief rationale for my request. I'm requesting that you, Mayor Nold and Ms. Kinsimple, put on an upcoming agenda for the council aldermen to put forth a revision to the cell tower ordinance. And the ordinance that I'm talking about is section 17.109. It's regarding the industrial use specific standards ordinance, and it states that it's regarding the antenna on an existing structure. And it says that the zoning administrator may approve the location of antennas on existing structures, provided that the antenna does not extend more than 10 feet above the highest point of the structure or is located inside a building and not visible when viewed from the exterior of the building. Well, I'm actually requesting, having done a lot of thinking about this, that the revision would include two things. And that first, it would remove the authority from the zoning administrator and shift that authority to the Common Council, or a technology committee that would have a public health and safety person on it. And that second, that notification be sent to residents or schools or business owners that live within the 300 meters or the 300, which is 328 yards, that the scientific research has apparently in multiple studies been saying that that's, that's outside that 328 is the minimum of a safe distance for radiation. Now, right now in your documents, the zoning administrator or such person as may be designated by the Common Council is hereby designated as the administrative and enforcement officer for the provisions of this code. And the duty of the zoning administrator is to interpret and administer this zoning ordinance and to issue all permits required by this ordinance. But in keeping now with the city's stated promise, and I've cited this in your ordinance, to, quote, promote and protect the public health, safety, and general welfare of the city, and also to stabilize and protect property values, which is another can of worms we can talk about later. It's really imperative, and I think common sense now, that the alderman or a designated technology committee with a public health advocate be given the authority to approve locations of antenna, because number one, at least first of all, in my estimation, the potential number of small cell antennas that we're going to face in the future on existing structures, and also the increase in scientific research documenting harm from cell tower and antenna radiation. So, I know that the Verizon antenna location was moved, and I understand it's on an existing structure or will be on an existing structure now, but I doubt that any of the residents within that 328-yard radius will know about it and, would have been notified. And someone besides the zoning administrator needs to know and be able to have some input. So again, I'm really requesting that you, Mayor Nold, and Ms. Kitzenball put on an upcoming agenda for the council aldermen to put a revision to that cell tower ordinance. And that the revision would remove the authority of the zoning administrator, shift that authority to you or a technology committee, and that notification be sent to residents within that 328 yards, that they would know that what's happening. And then I also request the aldermen, and particularly my reps, follow up with the mayor and Ms. Kitzenball about my request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your attention.
Sure. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Tonight we have licenses, final release letter of credit, Village Crossing Champion Court, and the treasurer's report. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Zwart.
Aye.
Alderman Stray.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rogers.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Shaw.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Committee reports, Utility Committee, consider act on a water tower maintenance program contract. We need a motion to approve the contract.
So moved.
Second?
Joe?
Okay, before you tonight is our water tower maintenance agreement proposal. We'll start out by saying that 6 firms took out the packet, 4 were returned. And this is a contract that expired in 2018. This is something that we have been doing for a very long time, is the tower maintenance. The DNR requires that we perform maintenance on these towers. The maintenance would include cleaning the interior, completely dewatering, and repainting the outside of the towers, and maintaining different aspects of the tower, patching rusty spots and things like that. So it's quite extensive. So 4 firms did return it. Our budget for this in our annual budget is $190,000 a year. And I'd add that the numbers that you are looking at on your paperwork are not to exceed numbers. So they're firm, okay? SEH was the lowest responsible bidder. And we had a discussion about some value looking at the 10-year versus a 20-year term. We discussed it internally, and when we asked these firms to propose a 20-year, we found that the numbers coming back really shined in that last 10-year period. So when they put their proposals together and we had the discussions with them, we talked about things like in the first 10 years, they're gonna do all the maintenance. The North Water Tower will be completely sandblasted and stripped down and recoated. And then we're gonna move on to the other towers within that first 5-year period and actually redo all the towers in that 5-year period. So you see the contracts and the numbers, they're front-loaded. And then the last 10 years is $68,000. So we found a lot of value. Our previous 10-year contract was about $170,000, $175,000, I believe. And if we felt that if we just let the first 10-year expire, I think we could do a better job and save money for that second by using one firm for the whole thing. So that's what you see before you tonight, is that proposal. One of the questions that came up at Utility Committee was regarding, because it is so long and out, for contractually out. So Stan Riffle worked on in the contract and put an out in there that the Utility Committee asked for, and that is in the contract. So our recommendation tonight is SEH being the lowest responsible bidder for the first 10 years at $1,719,400, and the 20 years $2,573,000, which equates to $189,400 annually, and for the first 10 years, then $67,900 annually after that. And I might add, there is a typo in here. There should be one more zero on the suggested motion. Should be 2,573,000. So it's missing a zero.
Darn.
Sorry.
Okay, do we have any comments? We already have a motion and a second on the floor. Do we have comments? Kevin?
So the numbers that we're seeing is not to exceed.
That is correct. Yep. And I might add, we did work with SEH. They had the previous 10-year contract for maintenance. We've used them before and had no issues with them.
And you're recommending the 20-year?
Yes, I am recommending the 20-year because of the value.
Matt?
Two real quick questions. One, SEH is the design build, so do they actually do the work, or do they hire
They
contractors?
have third-party contractors come in and actually do the work.
And does SEH monitor those contractors, or
Yes,
do we?
No, they do that.
Okay, so that's part of that.
That's
whole
part of
bid.
that package.
So considering the last 10 years is down to 67,900, do we expect then, obviously, a savings then for that whole 10 years of the normal 190,000 budgeted for that?
Yes,
Are we going to reduce the budget then in the 10 years to reflect that?
yes, we will.
I appreciate you doing the not to exceed. Obviously, that's been one of our big concerns. Do you feel that you're still going to get good quality work in the last 10 years of that contract, though, with someone that's 20 years out?
Yes, I believe that we will because of the reputation of the company.
Thanks.
Matt, the concern about the extent of the contract, I think is valid, and it was discussed during the committee meeting, which is why we wanted to see an opportunity for an out if there were concern based on quality. Attorney Riffle, could you help review what that out clause actually states?
I don't have it in front of me. I drafted it about a month ago. My recollection is it's 30 days.
It's a 30-day either party, and then that either.
The 30-day for us.
For us,
Right.
yes.
Right.
For cause.
No,
Performance, I'm sorry.
no.
It's not?
We have an absolute out.
Oh, okay.
30 days like every year, or is it just
Yeah.
30 days any?
Tomorrow.
Okay, we sign it tomorrow, 30 days, we say
Right.
we don't like you. Okay.
Yeah, that was kind of my concern. Are these people going to be around in 20 years? Who knows?
Anything can happen.
Well,
but
yeah, I can.
Yeah, they've been around for, Scott, how long has SEH been in business? 50?
That's all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then one other quick thing, not that previous to this one, but a lot of compliments on finally sandblasting that building up there.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I just have, how often do they have to get sandblasted and painted?
It's about every 15 years a paint job will last, and then it's touch-up after that. So they will come back and touch up any spots that start to rust
After-
through after.
15 years.
Well, if they're before that, they'll do it too. But normally, a paint job lasts about 15 years.
So they would do a full paint job for this contract price if it's necessary?
If need be, yes. Mhm.
Oh, that out on the contract, that's for both sides? Just
No,
our side?
Just for us.
Okay, so they can't say, oh, we're doing this way too cheap, we
No,
want to get
right,
out of
no.
this? Okay.
There-
It's a good
yeah.
deal for us, I think. It's
Yeah.
about a third the cost after 10 years for every year.
Go ahead.
One final, I appreciate the structure of this contract. We had good engagement from the marketplace, and we had good options to realize savings. And I appreciate the time and effort it went into making this work.
Welcome.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and second on the floor. Call the roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Zwart.
Aye.
Alderman Stray.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rogers.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Shaw.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Next up, we have a mayoral appointment with council confirmation. This is for Director of Parks, Recreation, and Forestry. I am appointing Craig Hepner. Everybody did receive information about him, but I'll just kind of go through this. Craig currently holds two degrees, a Bachelor of Science in Parks and Recreation Administration through the UW La Crosse, and a Master's of Business Administration through UW Milwaukee. Craig has over 29 years of Parks and Recreation Management Service experience, I should say. Served 14 years in the city of Waukesha as a recreation supervisor and rec manager. Served 15 years in the city of West Bend as director of Parks and Recreation. Craig has extensive Parks and Recreation project experience, fundraising, community involvement experience, and supervisory experience. Craig holds several awards through the national and state of Wisconsin Parks and Recreation Associations. He is a certified Parks and Recreational professional. Craig has also served as the president of Wisconsin Parks and Recreation Association. Craig comes to the city of Economowoc with education, experience, leadership, community involvement, and vision needed to be successful in this position. When we did the interviews, again, this is a mayoral appointment, but when we did interviews, I wanted to get input from other members of the community. On the selection committee was Alderman Shaw, due to his 32 years of experience with Waukesha County Parks. He has a lot of experience in parks. Joe Maroney, who is the president of the Park and Rec Board, wanted his input. He's been on there for 12 years. Sarah, sorry.
Diane's over there.
I know. Sarah Kitzenbull, who Craig will be reporting to. And then Tony, the HR director, he was involved as well to go through the HR aspects of it. The group, it was a unanimous decision by the group, made it pretty easy to say this is who we wanted. So we're looking for a motion to appoint Craig Hepner to the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Forestry.
I'll make a motion to confirm the appointment of Craig Hepner as Director of Parks and Recreation and Forestry.
Second.
Second. Any questions? Craig is here in the audience. If anybody has any questions for Craig, go ahead.
Yeah, are we going to be allowed to ask him questions tonight? Can we do that? Is that allowed?
Allowed?
Sure, it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Craig a few
Craig,
questions.
you want to come up?
Good evening.
Hey, Craig, thanks for coming. I appreciate you coming out. Nothing real major, but I think it's a critical position in the city, and I like to ask folks questions that we're going to hire for potentially 15, 20 years, or longer, or, more than likely you'll outlast the mayor, you'll outlast the council, and many iterations of the council. So I think these are important, critical decisions for us. So I just have a few really very brief questions. And it's related to some things we've been dealing with in the city recently with regard to funding. When you were in West Bend, did you work on fundraising for projects like river walks or parks or anything like that?
Yes, heavy, extensive experience with that. Obviously, it always takes a combination of city involvement, but in West Bend, for an example, our Riverwalk, which we just finished and set up the grand opening a couple weeks ago, $2 million project. A lot of it was grants through the DNR and DOT. Also about almost $600,000 in private fundraising, and another portion from the city. That's one example. I can run off probably 50 different ones in West Bend. It's definitely what we've done there. We've been able to be very successful. People are very generous. Lots of great organizations we've touched with. So a big piece of what I think I can bring is community building and relationships, and hopefully that helps us grow.
So, great answer. I appreciate that. How many? Do you remember how many acres you managed in West Bend?
1,425.
Wow, so bigger than Economowoc, because we've only got about 560
Right, you're just short of
acres.
500, I think. And yeah, we have a combination of parkways, open space, actual parks, conservancies, active areas. So a large park system, 3 different trails that come through West Bend: Ice Age, or Eisenbahn, which is a German word, Iron Road, and also our Riverwalk. So very supportive of trails, parks, and the maintenance of those as well.
Great. One of the things that we've done some little dabbling in here in the city of Economowoc with Parks and Rec is outsourcing. Did you do outsourcing for work when you were in West Bend?
Yeah, probably the best example, we have a fairly large staff on the maintenance side, but lots of different mowing areas, these small boulevards, medians, little pieces like that that aren't really parks, but they're city-owned. So we've put mowing contracts together for that. Been involved a little bit with snow plowing contracts. That's probably the best examples.
Okay, so you're willing to explore those options as a director for Economowoc?
I think anything's always on the table. Obviously, being a new person, my job is to listen, learn, ask questions, find out what's the best route, and try and serve the residents the best we can.
Thank you, Craig, I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions? Kevin?
First off, it's good to meet you, and glad you remembered my name the first time. That was outstanding. My concern has always been, for a number of years, the amount of money spent. I'm glad to hear that you are very pro when it comes to fundraising. I think that's really important. What would you do in a situation where you felt, or we felt as though we've been spending just a little more money than we should have? Would you go out to the public? Would you go out to businesses? Would you go out to individuals to acquire those funds? I can't think of a project right offhand, but I know that there are projects out there right now that, do you think outside the box? Do you try and figure out other ways instead of coming into council and saying, I need for you to cut us a check?
Well, certainly that's a great option, but it's not always the easiest or the best. Certainly, one of my attractions to the position here is your support of quality of life. It's demonstrated throughout your financial plans and the parks you're doing and growing, and your support of Parks Rec Forestry. So that's an important piece when your capital projects and 5-year plans. But there's also supplemental things that can happen. So a great example in Ragnar Park, which is our main park in West Bend, is the city really supported, as we started to redevelop the park and bring it back kind of from the dead. The city supported the infrastructure. Things are in the ground that people don't see, the sewer pipes and stormwater, new water lines, et cetera. But the folks we went out and talked to and helped build the pavilions and the things you see above ground. So it's definitely a partnership. I don't want to pin it all on fundraising, but I think there's a nice complementary piece. And I think the community's going to support it, and it really depends what it is. I know one of your topics is the Village Green and possibly a pavilion there, restrooms maybe, all this. That's certainly an option, and I think you have supportive people here and businesses, individuals, organizations that want to be part of it. I'm hoping that's true.
Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, thank you for your answers to those good questions. It is important to us that you look at and explore other options for fundraising and for outsourcing, important to me anyway. And welcome aboard, glad to have you.
Thank you.
One thing I'd like to say is that we didn't have any of those credentials prior to this morning, and that would have been nice to have for his sake, so that we knew what we were getting into. So next time, maybe we get those with the packet instead. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, Lou.
Welcome. You had mentioned that you have experience and you're open to engaging with the community for fundraising efforts and to further our Parks and Rec department. Did you find a formula that worked for you better than others maybe that you had experienced before in West Bend, and how you did that? As part of that strategy, are you coming this way? Are you coming down toward Oconomowoc to help with those ties to the community? How's your vision for that?
For working with the community?
How you're going to establish, grow, and maintain those ties? Are you gonna be in the community full time? Are you currently living in West Bend and planning to stay there? There's no wrong answer. I'm just kind of curious to see what the strategy is.
Sure. Well, I'll give you a great idea of. So we live actually not in the city of West Bend. My wife and I are in the town of Jackson. We've been there for 15 years, but I would probably say that most people would say that I'm much more involved in the community than most residents, most people. So I haven't lived in the city, but I think definitely a big piece of it. I see the same thing here. We have friends and family in the area. My goal is to meet as many people as fast as I possibly can. It's going to be interesting. It's 15 years of developing relationships in West Bend. It doesn't happen overnight, but I think I've gained a lot of experiences and learned a lot through it. The process for me really is meeting as many people face to face, learning what's really important to them. Because I could tell you set me up very nicely. You set the expectations too high. I like to set them low, but certainly learned a lot over the years. And I may think, here's the best way to tackle a problem or an issue. It really comes down, though, to the residents, the council, the park board, and their ideas of what's most important. So there's a lot of priorities as well. You have a lot of projects. You have a boat launch project. You have Northeast Regional Park. You have lots of smaller neighborhood parks, many other. So one of it is figuring out priorities and working through that process. So I expect to build the relationships and meet as many folks as possible and find out what's really important to them. And usually when they like in the Regner example, it was a group, we actually had 4 service clubs come together for the first time ever in West Bend to make this project happen. And so that kind of carried and rippled and made many other projects happen. So it's kind of finding that passion for people and what they want to see.
Go ahead.
Hopefully, in the very near future, maybe Alderman Stray and I can help host a welcome at the community center. Your community center is in District 2, and we can maybe help make those connections a little bit easier for you. Perhaps additional aldermen can.
Coming to District 2.
It's a cool area, man. We're growing. It's kind of hip, but anything that we can do to. I'm sure I'm not just speaking for myself and Alderman Stray, but anything we can do to help those communications and those ties get established quickly is.
I would appreciate that. I certainly, I'm a person that's going to work hard at it, but I certainly need a lot of help, assistance, and guidance as well.
Go ahead, Tom.
Plus Lou's buying the beer, so that's good.
One beer.
I'm on the rec board committee, and so we have a nice crew down there. You're gonna like them, and if I get out of line, it's okay, so.
We have the leader hosing on, so it's all good.
Yeah, oh, in West Bend, I've been to your Oktoberfest several different times, so.
West Bend, we are so German, we have a German night and a German fest. So, in fact, tomorrow night is German night, so I know you're going to the fair, but if not, you could come up for that, my final 2 weeks.
Kevin?
I know when this whole process had started, when whatever decision, when you decided to run or to put your name in the hat, there was a purpose. Now, just explain to me in very short fashion, what is your vision? What is your vision for Oconomowoc? Where do you see us in 5 years, 10 years? What is your vision?
My vision is to continue to be part of the process of growth. It's obvious that your housing, condos, residential is growing, business is growing. I think it's important that quality of life comes along with that. And so I want to be part of that cheerleader, I guess, for the major parks, the new neighborhood parks, to make that happen. I think there's 2 ways to tackle it. One is continue with that growth, and we certainly need to work on that. But at the same time, we can't forget everything else that's been there and make sure that everything is maintained very well. I'm a person that really looks for excellence in service. I think the staff that we have at Park Rec Forestry here is very, very good. I want to make sure that continues and we serve the residents the right way. I appreciate the comment about trees, and that's certainly something we're familiar with in West Bend with emerald ash borer and tackling that issue. But so it's for me, it's twofold: making sure we maintain what we have, the beaches, continue to improve that, continue to improve Fowler Park, Champion Fields, et cetera. But then it's also maintaining the growth and continue that and working closely with planning and everybody else in the city.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead.
I don't have a question for Craig. I appreciate you coming out tonight. I wish you the best of luck. I do plan to vote for you. This is a more general comment about this process. Like I said at the outset of my questions for Craig, these are important positions. They can go on for decades after we're all gone. And the first time we got any information on him was this morning after I emailed the mayor and Sarah and asked for that information. Sometimes we get more information on people applying for zoning board for 2 or 3 year terms. So this is an important position. And I don't understand why we weren't more involved in that process, especially Park and Rec's director, because he works very, very closely with us, both on the committee, but also here with these projects. We have massive amounts of projects going on. So I know there were interviews going on, but we were never told when those interviews were or if we could attend those. I maybe not have gone to the first 6 or 7 candidates, but maybe when we were down to the last, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, I would have been interested. So it seems like there was a lack of communication there, and I'd remind our staff, we have our strategic plan we're discussing tonight. Part 5, sub E, sub 3 is about communication with council. And the first time we learned anything, at least I did, formally about this gentleman is this morning before the meeting. I think that's unacceptable.
There are certain positions that are mayoral appointments.
yeah.
Administrator, hang on, the administrator, the park and rec director, those are basically the only two, and city attorney. I opened it up for interviews with more people. I didn't have to do that. But I got input from council, I got input from Park and Rec Board, and we made the decision as a group. That's not something that needs to be done.
So you got advice from one member of council, I understand that, and I don't want to get into an
No, I
ongoing
know,
battle
but I'm
about it.
just saying, I don't
the-
have to go through the process. I could have just picked them and appointed them.
Well, that's true, and we could also not confirm him.
No, you couldn't.
So tonight, what I'm saying is if you want us to vote for people in the future, we confirm them, it's on us. There's a level of due diligence as a council that is incumbent upon us to make sure the people we're confirming are right. You have the job to appoint them, we confirm them. And I think it's, as a courtesy to the council that's confirming them, we should have got some information. Other than this morning, we got a paragraph. That's it. No resume, no CV, no past information. I think it's unacceptable. I'm going to vote for Craig because I think he's very qualified. After me questioning him tonight, after finally getting information on him. But I think in the future, you should send us that information.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Call the roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Zwart.
Aye.
Alderman Stray.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rogers.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Shaw.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Drove them out.
Yep. Moving on,
You messed up.
staff report, strategic plan.
Thank you very much.
Sarah?
Congratulations.
Thank you, Craig.
Just saying so real quick, I appreciate the confidence in me. I'm going to do the best job I possibly can. I know our staff will step up to the plate, and we look forward to working with all of you. And please share any insight you can with me. I'll look forward to that. Thank you.
Sarah?
Yes. Ivan's going to queue up our PowerPoint presentation on just the second quarter status update of our strategic plan. Thank you, Ivan. As you know, we recently updated our strategic plan. We first approved that in 2018, so we recently updated that. I think it was at our July 2nd meeting. On your council stations tonight, what we have been working on is a quarterly status update of the detail of all of the items that are within the strategic plan. So our plan for that in the future is to have that in the packets to you ahead of time. This was the first development of it, so we were able to have that ready for you this evening tonight. So I'm just going to briefly highlight a couple of things, and you have more details that you can look at a future time, and we will continue to update you quarterly at the council meetings. Our city has the same 5 strategic plan goals to provide a safe and secure community, improve and maintain our infrastructure, focus on our economic development, improve our quality of life assets, and enhance the effectiveness of our city government. When we updated the city's strategic plan, there are currently 109 objectives or projects that are within that strategic plan over the next 5-year planning horizon. At this point, with the update of the plan, we took off the things that had been completed previously and added the new items. We're about 10% complete on the status of those items, and well over half are in progress. In the second quarter of this year, we did complete a number of items. Just real briefly, the construction of the Valley Road water main was completed. Punch list will finish that up, but it's essentially complete. The council approved the conditional use permit, a municipal code update. The tourism website is up and running, and those connections out to the community are going well. The installation of our transient boat piers on Lac La Belle has been completed. The council recently approved our city recognition program. We updated the impact fee study update, I said that twice, and updated our code. The council approved the market study update for our crew position wages. The power and light building, as mentioned earlier, was cleaned up, and the street lighting for LED. We've come to a completion of that program with nearly all of our street lights completed. Projects that were in process during the second quarter that continue, we are of course focused on our Olympia area redevelopment. The public safety facility design is underway. We are still in process with our comprehensive land use plan update. The city well plan was worked on, and then we have the construction kickoff for two projects, our Northeast Regional Park and Roseneau Creek Trail. So those contracts were approved, and the construction will kick off here shortly. This slide is just a brief what is new and has come in the door. The items on the left are things that you had seen in a previous report. 4 of those items were completed. The remainder of those were put into the new strategic plan update. And then otherwise, things in the door this quarter includes a tax incremental financing request from the Mandel Group. So we're continuing to work on that. Things that have changed priority or shifted, our Collins Street parking lot, the committee of the whole direction there was to defer that while we look at other parking options, and that will be coming forward to you, I believe, at the next meeting. Thackeray Trail Extension was deferred while we look at the existing street section conceptual designs, and that's in process. And then the county delayed the pedestrian underpass at Highway 67 due to the high price of the bids that came in, and they will take that up in late fall again. Looking ahead to the third quarter, we have quite a number of large projects on the docket throughout all of our departments. We will continue to focus on the Olympia area, the public safety building. A lot of this I had previously talked about. In addition to those items, we will kick off our parks and open space plan with Craig coming on board. The Wizard of Oz Plaza construction should be complete shortly. We are bringing back the policy consideration for the RFP process and engineering services that we recently discussed, building inspection services analysis, and then we have some kind of behind-the-scenes things going on with the document management system update. Our accounting system is undergoing a major software conversion, and the go live is this month, and the GIS system is in implementation. The last item on here is an item that was added to the strategic plan, and the technology committee consideration will occur in the third quarter. So that's just a brief update of the activity in the quarter and a brief look at what's ahead. So we will continue to make progress and work on the items in the plan and bring those forward to the council for your consideration.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Just with our sister city here, is there any thing in our strategic plan that identifies that sister city relationship as part of our overall plan? And if we don't, we might want to put it in there because at some point that should be a budgeted line item for the engagement back and forth and receive the support of the council.
I don't think we have anything specific in there currently, but I'll make a note of that for our future updates. That's a good point.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Where are we at on the inspection services analysis?
We plan to bring that back to the council before we're in budget discussions. So we're still gathering the data and putting that analysis together. The budget meetings occur in September, so we plan to get back to the council before then.
Thank you. Any other staff report? Go ahead.
Where are we with the police department?
The police department currently, right now is, let's see, we're in the plans have been completed. The plans were submitted to the state, maybe it's this week that they get submitted to the state for their approval. Once they approve that, we can send them out to bid in the first part, right away in August. And when we talked with our consultant about that, with putting the project out to bid in August, we're hitting a nicer construction time frame and bidding climate when contractors that are interested in this type of work are completed with their school projects. Very busy. So we expect to see better pricing and things come through. So the bids will be due the third week or so of August, or end of August, and then the bids will come back to the council for consideration, likely the second meeting in September.
Okay. Thank you. Any other staff reports?
Nothing else. Oh, Lou's got a question.
I believe, just as a follow-up to the public safety building, the way that was left, and nobody knows what that number is going to come in at, but I believe the the walking around number that council agreed to was 11.7 million,
That's correct.
all in. That included the front part of the lot, which is why that was a little elevated
Yes.
from previous conversation. Let's say it comes in at 12.2, do we have any contingency plan for how we're going to move forward?
Yeah, when we worked, well, we're working with the architect, we had a construction company take a look at the price
Sarah,
estimates. Oh,
that's not on the agenda.
You know, I am concerned about this particular topic not being in the strategic plan per se. I mean, I think the public would want to be here if we're talking specifically about numbers pertaining to that. It's a very important topic. I am a little bit concerned about getting afar of the open meetings law as it was not noticed. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I'm not trying to drive specific numbers or discussion about specific aspects of public safety building. I think everybody on council has expressed a desire to see a public safety building in our community. I just was wondering, as things are moving through the process, if there was any discussion in administrative levels, what may come back through council if those numbers didn't play out the way I think everybody is hopeful for. And I understand that would be maybe the concern that you're looking for, because if we have to retract.
No matter
it.
what happens, it's going to come back to you. It really isn't part and parcel of this whole strategic plan. It's a specific item in that strategic plan, and we're talking about specific dollars. And so I'm uncomfortable continuing the discussion, if that's okay with you all.
Okay. Any other comments? Any other staff reports?
nothing more, thank
Reports
you.
and comments from the mayor. I'd like to thank those that did help with the German delegation. I think that's above and beyond, and took some extra time out of your schedules, and I really appreciate that. They will be here yet tomorrow, like I said, at the American Legion band concert. They're going to be at Harley Night, and then they'll be leaving on Thursday morning. So it's good to see them again. Reports and comments from Alderman. Seeing none, we have a closed session.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
We mentioned the Waukesha County Fair. It is the oldest county fair in the state of Wisconsin. My family and I have been involved with it for over 20 years. So just encouraging everyone to get out and support our great Waukesha County Fair.
Especially Saturday afternoon, 4 on the floor.
Oh, what were your plan?
Really?
We got to pay to get in? Oh, jeez. 96 on Friday with 110 heat.
There's plenty of places to get inside and stay cool at the Waukesha County
Cooler
Fair.
on
So.
Saturday, 105 heat. Okay, closed session per Wisconsin Stats 19.85 per and 1 per and E, deliberating and negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public businesses whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This is a request for TIF financing Mandel proposal. We need a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to
moved.
go into closed session.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Zwart.
Aye.
Alderman Stray.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rogers. Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Shaw.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
You know, your guy last time, we weren't going to adjourn. He said you have to adjourn.
Well,
Right.
it depends on what the agenda says. If it says
It always says it.